Mark Gorka. I've been with the team since December, so fairly new, and with the Department of Housing administering disaster recovery funding for 6 years before that. I work with CTS processing MOUs so that public safety partners can get on the land mobile radio network. And I also work on the DSET side, processing capital expenditure funding grants for PSAPs and funded municipalities. That's about it.
All right, thanks, Mark. Patrick?
Good morning, Patrick Tangley, CTS engineer. I've been with CTS for about 6.5 years. Prior to that, I was with the Motorola service shops working on the system. I was part of the original build of the system in 1999. Also a ham radio operator. Liaison for Connecticut Transit, all the smaller transit districts as well. Several of the towns, work with the towns for template building, setting up their talk groups, etc. And also involved with the ham radio networks that we support for the state as far as DMR, packet, and the WindLink packet email.
All right, thanks, Patrick. Scott Sanislow. Scott here? If not, we'll go to Mark Matson.
Hi, good morning. It's Mark Matson. I've been with CTS. I'm an engineer. I've been here for about 20 years. I do radio programming, helping towns come on the system, typically out east. Recently worked with Winchester out west. And I can go from doing radio programming to deploying emergency restoration vehicles. I could then next be down working with a vendor on HVAC removal at our shelters, to pulling generators to site, etc. And just anything that comes along pretty much, troubleshooting and assisting the team with all our work. And it's ongoing.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Did Scott Sanislow join us? If not, Scott Sanislow is the system manager. He works for Motorola, but he's assigned directly to our team. Scott, are you on? If not,
he may be doing upgrade work today, Clayton.
Yeah, I'd rather have him doing that, to be honest with you. All right. Well, I don't think I missed anybody, but if I did, please speak up now. Thanks again for everybody for your introductions. Now that everybody's met the entire team, I'm going to start with my intro. Should be fairly brief. Again, if you guys aren't talking, just ask that you mute your microphones. Again, want to just welcome everybody and thank you for taking the time to join us. Just want to talk about the purpose of these quarterly meetings, essentially to establish an information exchange between you, the network users, and us, the network managers. What is that? I'm sorry? As the managers, we want to ensure that the network is operating at optimal performance and meeting the needs of all the first responders that we serve. I'm going to briefly share with you some user statistics on our continually expanding network. We hope to have a comprehensive list of all agencies on the network published on the DSET website soon. But currently, we have 69 MOUs that have been sent to various municipalities and public safety agencies. We have 6 right now that are actually in the process of being signed and executed. And we have a grand total of 60 MOUs that have been executed. And I want to talk a little bit about savings. One of the main reasons why we're doing this is interoperability to protect our first responders and the people that we serve. But one of the other reasons why we're doing this is physical. Savings are difficult. Some savings, you being our partners, are difficult to quantify. But we have a conservative estimate right now to our partners. We've saved approximately $20 million. And a lot of that is based on your feedback to us. So I just want to say that, the interoperability portion is first and foremost, but, we are saving Connecticut towns a considerable amount of money. I just want to give you an update on some of the agencies that recently came onto the network. Bloomfield recently came on. New Britain, Durham, Haddam, Middlefield. We've got multiple transit districts on the system, and they're also part of the emergency management plan for the state of Connecticut. So it's a great thing. We have the Middlesex paramedics just recently come on the system, Trumbull Fire, Willington, and last but certainly not least, we have the Connecticut Military Department come on our system. It involves the National Guard, Air Guard, etc. We have a few folks that are transitioning to the system right now: Avon, Bridgeport, Stamford, Connecticut Department of Transportation, Norwalk, Ledyard, and Groton City. And just to echo Bill's comments, special thanks to Stonington and Chief Stewart for drafting the first MOU, and also special thanks to Groton Town, Norwich, and Coventry for being our first municipal partners. Really appreciate the work that you guys did with us to get our first municipalities on the system. And then lastly, I'm just going to touch on a recent cybersecurity audit we conducted. In the fall/summer of 2018, we worked with a GSA contracted cybersecurity firm to conduct a full threat assessment of the state's 911 network, PSDN, that's the public safety data network, the fiber network, and our land mobile radio network. Some of the findings that they produced were quote unquote eye-opening. Since we've worked with multiple partners to ensure the security of all three mission critical systems. And I use this as an example. It's just, this project is an example of why being part of such a large statewide network has distinct advantages. You know, it would be impossible, if not extremely difficult, to fund such a project for each individual municipal radio system. So that's kind of my short little speech. Thanks again for your time today. And next up, Julie Gatson, who you met earlier, our NCC manager. She's going to give a presentation on the Network Control Center.
Thanks, Clayton. I'm just going to share my screen here with you guys. I know a lot of you guys have either visited the NCC over the years, had a quick tour. Let me know when you can actually see the screen.
I can see it, Julie. Yep.
All right, perfect. So we're just going to do a quick brief NCC 101 and just talk a little bit about what the NCC is, the type of services that we provide, and the information that we're looking from our users when you call. So what is the NCC? We're a liaison between DESP administration and the end users of the CTS network. Obviously, as the system has grown, that has impacted our reach. I've tried to keep this focused with what we're doing for the land mobile radio network, but again, we've been handling items for DESP for many, many years, and most recently, we also do a lot now for DSET in regards to their redundant power network, and that has afforded us the ability to contact the PSAPs throughout the state and start to form those relationships as well. We're a 24/7, 365 operation. And our primary duties provide network and system monitoring, dispatch, and management services relating to the Connecticut Land Mobile Radio Network and CTS networks in general. We are managed through a company, Adesta. That's the company that I work for. We have been on project for over 25 years. As I said before, we originally designed and built the microwave radio network, and we have continued to maintain it throughout our contract. And we have been with the Network Control Center since its inception. Type of services that we're providing, as I stated, our primary responsibility toward monitoring and maintaining the network. We also do a lot of ticket tracking, documentation, notification, and reporting as part of that. We handle monitoring dispatch for DSET as discussed. We also handle, which this is a big part of what we're doing for the CLMRN, which is the onboarding of radios. So all of you folks that when you're bringing your subscriber radios onto the network, it is our team that you're helping coordinate with along with your CTS liaison. So we do alias updating, radio controls, and inventory for all of that. And in addition, our continued help desk duties that we do for DESP. For you guys, this would mean anytime you're having an issue with your radios, you would be reaching out to us and we would help coordinate getting service or advising you if it's just an issue that you need to go to your local service shop on or whether it's network related. A little bit about the CTS radio system and our duties. We support the microwave transport and phase 1 fiber transport. We're monitoring that. We monitor Motorola systems, NICE recorders, shelter security and door activity, shelter power and environmentals. We do the subscriber management, onboarding all the radios, alias changes, radio controls. Those are things such as if there's an event of a lost or stolen radio, we would deactivate that radio so that it's no longer on the system and not compromising anything else on the system. We lock out radios that are unassigned for just control purposes, and then we inventory that information so we know where our resources are. There is a private phone system that the CTS unit has that we utilize and maintain, and then we provide liaison between CTS DESP vendors and customers. Help desk, again, I talked about ticket processing, call taking. I'm focusing predominantly for what would relate to this group. So again, that's going to be anything relating to your radio systems and radio networks. If you're having issues, you're going to call up the control center. We're going to take that information. We're going to help follow up with any of those issues as necessary. What kind of information are we needing? We need clear contact information, your badge or radio call number, a good phone number to reach you, email, the agency that you work for. And we need as much detail as possible on the trouble that you're having. And then we might ask for additional information such as equipment details. What's the radio make model? What resource or talk group were you utilizing? And where was your location? If you were in a vehicle, where you have a physical address, things to that nature to help us get as much real information that we can provide to the group that is responsible for looking into the trouble, whether it's CTS, whether it's the Motorola service team, or helping you to get in touch with your radio service provider. We do ask as much as possible for the person having the trouble to call us. It's always so much better to receive that firsthand. And then here is our contact information. So I'm going to leave this on the screen just for a moment for anyone who doesn't have this information. Again, that 860-685-8008 number will get to the control center 24 hours a day. The main radio channel that we monitor right now is 49 Statewide Common 1. That may change in the future. And our email address is desp.ncc@ct.gov. You can always, if you're having troubles or issues, you can always ask for myself or Ernie Valero, who's our NCC manager. And we just want to say a big thank you to not only all the end users, but also to CTS, Motorola, all the partner vendors, DESP, for really, designing, building this amazing network and continuing to see it grow. And with that, I will turn it over to back to Clayton.
All right. Thanks, Julie. Again, if anybody has any immediate questions, feel free to let me know. But we want to save time at the end for kind of information exchange between users. So I know we're deviated from the agenda just a little bit. Apologies for that. Next, we're going to talk about, I'm going to hand it over to Scott for an engineering update.
And take myself off of mute. Hopefully folks can see the screen.
Got it.
All right. So again, my name is Scott Wright. I'm an engineer too with the CTS unit. I'm the lead for our engineering little group that we got going on. So just a couple slides, some things to talk about, if this would cooperate. Okay, so the engineering group is responsible for system planning, maintenance, and operation of the state's LMR system, which includes the Connecticut Land Mobile Radio Network. It includes interfacing not only with the system manufacturer, but subscriber manufacturers, standards groups, users groups, etc. Connecticut, and Clayton touched on the cybersecurity audit that we did. Connecticut is way ahead of the curve on a lot of things, and cybersecurity is one of them that they did a really good job with. And, to give Clayton and Bill credit when we started talking about doing a cybersecurity audit for the fiber and NG system, because, you know, when you think of IP, that's that. But really, these radio systems today are IP based, and there's some cybersecurity considerations for that. And again, you know, Connecticut is way, way ahead of the curve on a number of issues, and the cybersecurity is one of them. Some upcoming activities that are going on that folks need to be aware of. We are upgrading from the Motorola 7.17.3 platform to the Astro 2019.2 platform. That is currently underway. Users may see some notifications coming out from Julie and her group that there's going to be some impact, whether you go into site trunking, whether you might see a site down, that kind of thing. We work very hard, and we work in conjunction with Motorola to ensure that any impact to our end users is absolutely minimized. A number of us are field providers as well, and we get it. You know, that's your lifeline. You need it. You want it to work. At the same time, we have to accommodate these updates. So this upgrade is basically, think about it as updating your operating system on your computer, or updating your computer, because that's what's happening. You know, we're updating servers, we're updating switches, we're updating operating systems, just to keep things current, keep things fresh, keep things supported. Come 2021 in the first quarter, we're going to be adding a second zone, which is going to add some additional capacity and redundancy to the system, as well as resiliency. So we have phenomenal resiliency on the system now. We have a main site, we have what's called a disaster recovery site. Each of those sites have mirrored controllers, so if one goes down, the other one takes over. And if we lose one site, it goes to the other site, which was some of the interruptions that you saw last week for a couple of seconds, where it transitioned from one site to the other site, which is great from a resiliency standpoint. So we're going to add another one. Clayton touched upon a number of the users that we have starting coming on board down in the Fairfield County area in the western part of the state, in addition to some of the folks that have been on the network, whether it be Litchfield County Dispatch, Northwest Connecticut Public Safety, those kinds of folks. And we want to make sure that we maintain that resiliency and redundancy, as well as that we ensure that we have enough capacity on the system to accommodate everybody. So that's going to be going on in 2021. We're growing. Clayton touched on this a little earlier. We've added sites in conjunction with some partners. Our great friends in Bloomfield added a site at their PD. Groton added a site. Groton Town added a site at their PD. The state added a site in Madison in conjunction with our great partners down in Madison. We added a site at the Police Academy in Meriden, which has done phenomenally well with filling in parts of Meriden in that area. Our partners over in Norwich added 2 sites and have coverage like they've never had before. And our great partners down in Stonington added one at their PD. So that the E area is really well covered. And we're going to be adding some sites. We have what I call at least Bloomfield North, which is the northern part of Bloomfield. We have a site that we're working on in Brantford. We have a site we're working on in Heartland, and we have a site we're working on in Waterford. And what I want to mention about some of these is some of these are based directly on user feedback. You know, when users call up and say, hey, you know, the coverage isn't quite what we need it to be operationally. And that's where we added the Meriden site and the Brantford site. It came out of that, the Heartland site, the Waterford site, all came out of that user feedback. So that user feedback is really, really important to us. We changed some sites. We took the Ansonia site from the G subsystem to the I subsystem. With the older non-P25 platform, the only place it would fit was with the G subsystem, with moving to P25. It worked better with Ansonia being on the I subsystem, because Ansonia is in the I subsystem area. And we changed the Windsor locks antennas from directional to omni, given some of the increased interest in that area as well, and that helps us cover that area even better. And there's multiple others under consideration. You know, Clayton mentioned the towns that we're working with. So each of them sometimes brings sites. We're growing with subsystems. You know, I saw John Medley come on earlier. You know, we integrated the New Britain system into the state core. You talk about cost savings. You know, New Britain was looking at a bill for having to upgrade, and it was considerably cheaper to integrate the two. And now John's guys in the police department, fire department can go pretty much anywhere in the state and have coverage where they didn't have before. And New Britain's system worked out tremendously. You know, we brought them on the system, and not 2 months later, we had to stand up in conjunction with Demis, the commodity distribution warehouse in New Britain, and with New Britain's system, it helped us cover that. Stanford, we're working with there almost every day. I'm bringing them in, similar to what we did with New Britain. And then we're adding some subsystems. Clayton talked about it. Avon and Bridgeport is going to be coming on the network and adding 2 sites in Bridgeport. So we're really excited about that. We have partnerships. You know, this interoperability thing is about people. It's not about the technology. The technology pretty much we have covered. It's about the people. It's about you folks. It's about meeting your needs. So we have what's called an inter-subsystem interface with a number of our partners, Middletown and Wallingford. So our folks our partners in Middletown and Wallingford can go anywhere in the state. Their police officers can go anywhere in the state and talk back and utilize the power of the state system. And we're working with Waterbury to do the same thing. And we have some pending work that we're doing with the MTA in New York. The MTA in New York uses our system primarily for their needs as well. We have a console subsystem interface. It allows for the use of non-Motorola consoles to access trunked resources. It works really well. And again, Connecticut's on the forefront of a lot of this. So we currently have CSSI console connections in Groton, Norwich, Southwest RCC, Valley Shore Communications, which just came on in the last 2 weeks, and is already making an impact on a number of their users, and we've gotten some great feedback. We're working with Electric Boat. A lot of folks don't think of Electric Boat, but when you think of a national security and what an incident at Electric Boat would entail, it makes a ton of sense, and we're going to be accommodating Electric Boat as well, and working with our partners down there. You know, certainly if something happens at Electric Boat or something happens in their surrounding communities, they need to talk efficiently to their emergency responders. So that's going to help out tremendously down there. Subscribers. So the good news is that we're subscriber agnostic. Honestly, the bad news is that we're subscriber agnostic. It would be an awful lot easier for us to say, you can use this one brand radio and that's it. However, we like to present our users with multiple options to choose from, which is the basis of the P25 standard. The bad news is that it increases our workload, and we have to be very familiar with each one of these products. So currently in service, we have stuff from BK Technologies, EF Johnson, L3 Harris, Motorola, Tate, and Kenwood. And we work with all of those manufacturers on a routine basis to stay abreast of things and to work out some kinks. Some current activities going on. Motorola's come out with some new software shortly. We typically don't adopt anybody's software the first time out. Somebody else can be the beta test. EF Johnson, we are going to be part of the beta test for their new firmware and software with some new features based on some feedback that we provided with them. And L3 Harris, we're going to be beta testing some new firmware and software to resolve some issues that we identified that pose some problems for us. OTAP servers, a lot of interest in OTAP, Motorola. We work with Motorola on some improvements to OTAP, and the results are absolutely phenomenally dramatic. EFJ, we're going to be moving that server, so we'll be sending a notification out shortly in the next couple of weeks that, hey, by the way, it's going to be down for a day or two. And then we're working with L3 Harris and Tate to investigate implementation of those, because we have a number of L3 Harris subscribers on the system, and we have some increasing interest in some Tate subscribers as well. One of the requests based on feedback from our users has been for mobile repeater or fireground channels. We have a number of fire departments coming on the network. And, you know, our fire guys have some little different requirements from our law enforcement or EMS folks. There's a lot of engineering that's gone into this. Patrick Dangny's taken a lead on a lot of this, working with Leo from Hartford, and we greatly appreciate that partnership. Working out some of the kinks and understanding what goes on with this. So we, in anticipation of this, we have a license pending with the FCC. It's been there a little over a month. for a number of 800 meg low power channels, and we have one going in for some 700 meg low power channels. So some of the 800 stuff is statewide, some are limited. We can't use them in New Haven, Fairfield, or Litchfield counties, and the 700 meg ones are going to be based on counties. The idea is that you don't have to go looking for this stuff. As an end user, you can come to us, we'll work with you, we'll identify some frequency choices, and we'll come up with some ways that you can use these channels, and to save you a whole lot of headaches. Training subscribers, some of the folks on this call are part of my beta group for a new training opportunity with Motorola. We greatly appreciate Motorola's assistance and the learning folks rolling out this beta test. We have 20 some odd people engaged in the beta, and we've got to do some training to stay abreast of this stuff. This stuff is not easy. It changes all the time, and so we were able to roll out a bunch of classes to the folks that agreed to participate in the beta, and that's including a lot of users. We included a good cross-section of some users that don't have any experience. We have some folks with Julie and her team, administrative folks, just to give you some background on that stuff, and that works pretty well. And I'm pretty excited about the training. If it comes to fruition the way they're talking about it, I think it'll be a phenomenally great addition. So one of the questions we get asked all the time is, what happens if it gets busy? Can you accommodate X, Y, Z? So we continually monitor the system for performance, and we look at system statistics every day. This is the one from yesterday, up on the screen now. This is a report that we get from Julie's folks that they send out to us at about 12:30 every morning, rain or shine, and you can see some of the things that go on with the PTTs, the total PTT time average, and busies. And we look at this every day. We look at this at the end of the week, and we look at this at the end of the month. And we do a lot of predictions, and we've gotten a lot of very good data so far with the mix of folks that we have on the network. We work with Wayne and his folks in Middletown. We work with Chief Wright down in Wallingford and his folks in Wallingford. And we work with the great folks out in Waterbury, because we can look at this and we can model this and we can pattern this. And we're doing really good. We want to make sure that we kind of can accommodate everybody, and we have a greater service that says we can't have any busies that last over a second. And so far we've met that greater service, and that's one of the reports we look at every day. We also have, and Julie touched upon some of this, we look at a lot of things with the network, and we monitor the network for system performance on a continual basis. And in the last month or two, we actually added another diagnostic tool. So this is for those that are familiar with radio, this is a voting comparator. This takes, each one of these is a RF channel in the G subsystem, and we can tell where your radio, if you're affiliated to G or any of our subsystems, which channel you're on and what site you're voted to. And what was really neat was the day that this went in, I kid you not, we found a problem with a particular manufacturer's firmware. And it's only because of this that we were able to detect that. So we look at that and work with that in the background. The user survey that Mark put together, and he did a phenomenally good job with that, indicated that a whole lot of folks are interested in coming up with a portable level coverage standard. Great. So then the question becomes what and how to pay for it. Street portable, handheld, belt worn, buildings, which gets really complicated or really fast. There's provisions for new buildings in the building code for the authority having jurisdiction. And then if anybody wants to have some fun, look at a Florida model based on their fire code and what they've done that mandates 95% building coverage in buildings within the next couple of years, even existing buildings. And that's based on a lot of the activity they've had down with some of the school shootings, the shooting at Fort Lauderdale Airport, and a couple other incidents. it's really interesting to see what they did. So we're working on that, you know, and we need your feedback. You know, what's reasonable, and bear in mind that part of what comes with that is we got to pay for it, you know, and how to do that. Some next steps, we've put out some feelers. We have a new interop template we want to work on and get out to the users come January. The current interop template was done with a lot of help. It was completed about 2 years ago. Since then, it's been a sea of change. You know, all these new users basically came on within the last 2 years. So we need to change it. You know, what can we change? What can we get rid of? What needs to stay the same? There's a request out for input and some suggested changes. I've gotten very few for feedback, and you know, so we'll take some more. The target is to have that out for January of each year. That we'll do our upgrades, you know, our updates once a year. Go from there. So if you have anything, I know we're working with Northwest and LCD on some stuff, as well as Litchfield County Dispatch. You know, one of the changes is we did a trunking interface into Hartford Intercity up north, which has worked out phenomenally well for everybody. And some other next steps, we're trying to clear the backlog of template requests. You know, we've got a couple that have been hanging for far longer than I'd wanted them to, but it is what it is. And, you know, so I'm trying to have that done for Friday. The people have been very patient. And moving forward, we're, you know, as Bob mentioned, we're working with the vendors to have them do the individual templates for folks to try to speed things up, subject to review by Bob or myself or Pat. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Clayton. If anybody has any questions, feel free to let us know. And again, you know, thank you for joining, taking time out of your busy day on a nice rainy Thursday, and go from there.
All right, thanks, Scott. Hey, Scott, real quick, do you want to touch on how users can share talk groups, either whether they're on network or off network?
Sure. So if somebody wants to share a talk group, basically the model is that your talk group is your talk group, and nobody else can use your talk group without you knowing about it. So we have two different models. We have a blanket, which some towns have done, that sent us a note that said, basically, you can share it with everybody. You can, you know, put it in everybody's radio. We really don't care. And we also have the model that says, yeah, talk to us first and see if it's okay. So we work with the CTS engineer that's assigned to your particular user, and we identify that as we go along. Things change, but you know, it's worked out really, really well. And one of the success stories with this was, one of the very early success stories with Stonington and Groton was they had a murder suspect out of the South that because they were all able to change over to the same talk group, God forbid, and it's brand new for Connecticut, that they were able to coordinate. And, you know, they had 4 different subscribers all talking on the same talk group at the same time, and they were able to catch the guy without having to play telephone tag. So, you know, we're trying to make it work for you.
Scott, we got a hand raised from Jason Greenfield. I'm not sure.
Hi, Jason.
Hey, Scott, how are you? So this is from Fairfield Police. I just it sparked in my mind a discussion as you talk about some models for sharing talk groups for, and this may be a little more prevalent on the law enforcement side. We have been talking in Fairfield County amongst the Fairfield County chiefs about a shared encryption pathway for those law enforcement agencies that have decided to encrypt their dispatch communications. And Scott, I know you and I have spoken about a single common encryption key and things like that. Do you guys have something in place yet for that maybe we can shift our effort in this area to, or is that still under development?
No, so out east, again, the eastern part of the state was ahead of others. So we have common encryption keys that we can share, both with locals and state folks and federal folks. And we have some common, you know, as we work with you folks out in that neck of the woods with Fairfield, and Fairfield's one of our up and coming potential users. We can work with you to incorporate that with templates moving forward, so that everybody can share a channel and share an encryption key. One of the things that I do as part of my duties is I'm a LMR crypto subject matter guy on a national level. So we share crypto with state, local, federal. So we can do that. That's pretty easy for us to do.
I don't ever want to ask to put more work on your plate. I know you guys are extremely busy, and we're very thankful for everything you do. I just don't want to have a situation where we're reinventing the wheel down the line.
Yeah, Jason, we could probably take that offline and talk about what we've done in the East and what Patrick and I are working on for the North Central folks. It's very similar, very similar. And, you know, like you said, there's no need to reinvent the wheel here. It's been done, and more than happy to accommodate that.
All right, thanks, Scott and Jason. So real quick, sorry to break into the agenda real quick. I don't know, Kevin McManus is on, and he just wanted to share something about user information, how we can update that easier. So Kevin, if you're ready, I can give you a few minutes right now to just kind of briefly chat on that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Clayton. Good morning, everybody. Kevin McManus. I am the technical account manager for Everbridge, assigned to the state of Connecticut account. My background, probably heard my voice or my name in the past. I used to work for the NCC, and I was also a 911 dispatcher out in Colchester for a number of years. So in conjunction with the NCC and in conjunction with the rest of DESPI, one of our target goals is to be able to share information quickly with you about the system status or upcoming maintenance. Recently, we've been using the email system out of the NCC, but we want to shift that over to Everbridge because not everybody monitors their emails 24/7. You might not be, you know, the first person in line. You might be the only contact we have right now. So in the chat box before this is over, I'm going to drop a link to a subscription form. Just a quick, how do we get a hold of you? Who are you? And this will be added to the NCC's ways to notify you of any change in status above and beyond, whether it's a routine notification for something that's up and coming, or if it's a you know, weekend we are experiencing a problem and the folks at CTS want to get that message out to you quickly. So we'll drop it in the chat. We'll also drop it into everybody's emails. And in conjunction, if you have any questions or comments or needs for CT Alert or Everbridge underneath the state of Connecticut's existing account, feel free to reach out to me. I'll leave my contact information in the chat box also. Thank you, Clayton.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, that information that you guys provide us with, whoever your primary and secondary and how many contacts you want to have on the system, it's important for us to get information out to you, especially when we're doing maintenance on the system. And if there's any system outages, we want to make sure that you guys are all aware as soon as possible. Next, I'm going to hand it over to Mark Gorka. He is the one that was responsible for the user survey that has been mentioned a couple of times. Really want to thank Mark for putting that together and getting that out to our user community. And I'm going to hand it over to him to talk briefly about it.
Okay, thank you, Clayton. I will pull that up. Don't see it on my screen anymore. I had it on here. Here we go. All right. So we did put out the survey in July to get some valuable feedback from everybody. It took a little bit longer to complete than I had anticipated. So if we do any future surveys, I'll make sure that we'll keep the time down, reduce the number of questions. The survey is still open. You can still access if you haven't already to complete it. We sent it out to 61 users and about a third responded, which was great. That's good results. And we got some valuable feedback from it. Just real quickly, I'll go over a couple of the highlights. Here you can see the various partners that are using the network to support public safety. Lots of law enforcement, fire, EMS, and various other public safety partners as well. And 77% have improved interoperability, and that's a big reason why we're doing this, to serve interoperability with the other cities and towns, other state agencies, the state police, and we're getting federal agencies on board as well. We got some great feedback about the engineers and working with the engineers to set everything up. And we learned some issues that need to be addressed, and our team has been working on that as well. And as Julie had mentioned earlier, if you're having difficulties reporting changes in coverage or critical areas without coverage, our engineers will get on top of that. Just try to give as many details as you can when you call the NCC, as Julie noted earlier. And we're here today because everybody wanted to have a users group meeting. And Scott already covered the portable radio coverage standard, and that was a result of the feedback we got from you. And various other types of feedback we got was very important. So we'll do another survey again someday, and I'll definitely keep the questions down. If there's anything you want to know more about or learn about, reach out to me and let me know, and I can include a question on the next survey. And that's all I have for the survey.
All right, thanks very much, Mark, for putting that together. I really appreciate that. A lot of hard work went into that, so I hope you all appreciate it as well. And probably be the first of several surveys that we'll send out to you guys, because we, to quote Scott Wright, we're nothing without our users, and we want to get as much feedback as possible. And with that said, it's a perfect segue into, we want to open it up to questions from you all, and we also want to open it up to shared experiences. So if you have a question, just raise your hand. I can't have everybody talk at once, and I'll yield the floor to you. And also, if you want to just share any experiences that you have, positive or negative, we're open to all feedback. Going to open it up right now. Hopefully, you guys have some questions. I'd like to see some hands go up, and I'll be quiet and look for some hands now. And don't be shy. There's only 66 people on the call. And if you don't know how to raise your hand, because some people are phone users only, just feel free to unmute yourself and let me know. And I can't imagine that nobody has anything to say. Okay, I think I see one. Just have to scroll through my screen to see who it is. Oh, Jason.
It's Jason Greenfield again. I wanted to, as Fairfield right now is in the stages of
Jason, you're breaking up just a little bit there.
Buffering. The background noise coming in.
There you go.
Can you guys hear me right now?
Perfect.
Bad Wi-Fi.
There you go.
Got it back?
Yep. You're
all right. Perfect. What we're looking for, to keep it short, is we're going to be kind of working through our town elected boards for funding for our project to transition over to the CLMRN system. And I recently, I appreciate the help that he has provided me. I spoke with Captain Rick Homestead about a system that they put together recently up in Wallingford. And, just kind of very quick and off the cuff, if anybody is interested that's gone through funding processes and spoken in their public proceedings, if they're interested in giving us any guidance, we would certainly appreciate it. If you want to just chat your contact info in this group here, I'll reach out to you. So I appreciate anybody that's willing to take some time to speak with us about it. I know I'll give a lot of credit to Assistant Chief Matt Cohen over in Westport, who has provided us a lot of guidance as well as Westport pursues their funding. But we're going to be hitting that pretty hard in December and January to get our approvals to get moving. So looking for some assistance.
All right. Thanks, Jason. I see Rob Murphy, Trumbull Fire.
Hey, Clayton, thanks so much. It's Rob. I just wanted to, first start off and say thank you to your entire team for all their help in getting us up and running as a new subscriber for the 3 departments in town. I just had a quick question. What is the process for notification if a connection to the dispatch center is going to go down? I just want to make sure, and I did see the link, so we'll make sure that everybody on our end that needs to be on that is on that. But what would that typically look like?
I'm going to yield the floor to Julie.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So generally in those cases, if we have a known outage that's going to impact a link or service to the end users, what we would do is send out an email from the Network Control Center. Usually you'll see it typed with a header CTS scheduled maintenance, and we'll put the date down, and then we'll put the description of the type of information or the type of services that would be impacted. If it was an unplanned outage, a little bit different, we would still send a notification out to the users, just noting that we have had an unplanned outage and what measures we're taking to resolve the issue.
And obviously for an unplanned one, Julie, we wouldn't be able to know ahead of time, but if it is scheduled, typically how far in advance would we as the subscribers or the dispatch centers know?
So it depends on the type of work that they're doing. We like to have a minimum of 24 hours notification, but if it's a major impact, CTS will ask the vendors that are doing the work to give us just as much notification as possible. So sometimes you may see it range anywhere from say 48 hours to a week's notice, based on the type of outage that's going to occur. But minimum should be 24 hours, unless it's emergency. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And I'll make the same offer as Jason did. If there's any fire departments out there that are interested, and I could speak specifically to fire, who are interested in talking about how we worked with the state to get ours up and running, or how we engineered, our interior ops versus our exterior ops, please feel free to reach out. I'll give my contact information to Clayton and his team. I know they already have it, but more than willing to have those conversations as well.
Thanks, Rob and Julie. Appreciate that. I see Keith Victor has his hand up. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, I'd like to know where we are with the L3 Harris issue, with the staying on, not moving out of the certain subscriber systems that happen in Middletown.
And that's a Scott Wright question.
So it's a great question. We touched on it on the slide. We're awaiting the beta firmware and software from L3. We were told we were getting it in September. Here it is, the end of October. Quite honestly, it does not shock me. We heard from one user who talked to his sales account manager 2 days ago that it was a little more complicated than they thought, and it's still in development. I've talked to their subscriber folks who tell me that it's under review. We have not seen it yet, so as soon as we see it, we'll let you know. And we're waiting with our units to try it as soon as it comes in.
How are we doing with the system keys?
As far as which part, Keith?
Getting the system keys so that like West Hartford can get on, and those departments in the capital region could end up engaging with the state system. I know we have the CSSI right now in our dispatch center, but I think Rocky Hill and us are the only two up here that have it.
Well, you don't have CSSI, you just have a console patch. Big difference between CSSI and a console patch. And then as soon as we get this business with the L3 Harris subscribers, which you've got straightened out, we can work with getting the system keys done. We can't do the system keys until we have this other problem resolved.
Okay, thank you. And next Friday's my last day.
Keith, I have to say, it's been an honor working with you. I hope you stay active in this community. For those that don't know Keith Victor, he has been an active person in LMR and Connecticut for a very long time. Big echo there. Again, just to reiterate, thanks, Keith, for everything you've done for Connecticut LMR. We hope that you're still around in some capacity, but wish you the best in your retirement.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm still staying on the state interop committee and
awesome.
Region.
Fantastic. Good to hear. And I see we have Mike Boucher with his hand up. Go ahead, Mike.
Hello, everyone. I had a comment. The Capital Region and CREPC recently just came on board, and I want to thank the entire team, everyone from executing the MOU to building the template and working with the vendor and getting the radios to us. It was a really easy process, and we appreciate everyone's help.
All right, Mike, thanks for your comment. Appreciate that. Anybody else have any shared experiences or questions for the team? I see we're approaching the hour mark. And again, I wanted to keep this as, on schedule on to an hour as much as possible. Last call for anybody that wants to share any experiences or has any questions. If nobody does, I just want to end on just one quick note. I just want to give a big shout out to my team, everybody that introduced themselves in the beginning. Just want to say, the old adage about surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you to be successful. Well, it's true. And I just want to end with, I truly have the best team for the job, and really thank you all. And thanks for helping me put this together. And thanks for everybody to take your time to join us today, and be on the lookout for the invite for the next quarterly meeting. Hope everybody stays safe, has a great Thanksgiving, and we'll be talking to you soon. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Clayton.
Thanks, all. Thank you.
Thanks, boss.
Thank
Good job, Clayton. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Later, everybody. Let's go to Disney.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.